Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. We're continuing our conversation on the newly unveiled Economic Recovery Growth Plan for Nigeria. Of course, the key execution priorities of this plan is stabilizing the macroeconomic environment, achieving agriculture and food security, ensuring energy sufficiency, improving transportation infrastructure, and driving industrialization, focusing on small and medium-scale enterprises. That is also part of what the broad objectives of the plan is. Bismarck Ruwani, the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, joins me now on the program to be part of this conversation. Good morning to you, and thank you for coming on the show.
Good morning, Harriet.
Now, what do you agree with or disagree with in this new Economic Recovery and Growth Plan released on Tuesday?
Okay, let's step back a little bit and try to examine what exactly this plan is about. It's called an Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. Recovering from what? Recovering from a recession, and actually of 4 quarters, consecutive quarters of negative growth. Now, 2, growth. You cannot recover without having growth. So the first plan is to bring growth within reason. That is, you're targeting 2.5% growth in the budget of 2017. Also, it helps to reconcile the ideological differences between the policy-making community in Nigeria. There are those who believe in heavy state participation, those who believe in a free economy, and those who agree on a mixed economy. This plan seeks to reconcile the other ideological differences. Thirdly, it is a very audacious plan in terms of trying to achieve 7% growth by the year 2020 and create over 3 million jobs, because that is the way to attain full employment. That is the broad objective. Secondly, what does this mean to the ordinary man? That's you and I. And how is it going to affect our lives today? And we have to wait till 2020 to see the results of this. The truth is that because there is consistency between this plan and the budget, which is the one-year plan, the stimulus package of 2017 is integrated into this recovery plan. And that by the time we go for the spring meetings in Washington in April, we would have a plan that is respectable and credible, so that our creditors and those who are going to lend us money under our borrowing program will be satisfied that we are going to achieve what is desired. But one thing you must take note of is the question there that we are going to have a market-determined sustainable exchange rate. That is the big elephant in the room. Are we going to have a market-determined exchange rate which is sustainable? That is what the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan is saying. And what we are hearing from the Monetary Policy Committee may not be exactly that. But what the plan is saying that between now and 2020, we would have achieved this, and that will be the nucleus under which our plan will be accomplished.
So you've mentioned the monetary policy. Let's talk a little bit more about them. For the meeting for the Monetary Policy Committee is just about a week away. What kind of response are you expecting?
Well, the truth is that the Central Bank and the Ministry of Finance, the fiscal authorities are all going to be in Washington. So they better begin to agree on what is required. And also on the 28th of this month, the IMF is going to meet, the IMF board is going to meet and discuss the Nigerian Article 4 review. So it's not necessarily in our hands, it's in the hands of all our stakeholders, that is those who lend Nigeria money, those who live in Nigeria, and those who run Nigeria. All of us have to be on the same page. I think that the meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee on Monday, which is going to hold in Lagos because of what's happening at the Abuja airport, is going to be one in which the ideological differences within our policy-making community will have to be reconciled and aligned so that we can move in the right direction. I believe that it is time to take a look at whether we are going to continue the contractionary stance or the accommodative stance that the Central Bank did allude to in the last meeting. Possibilities that they would say, let's wait and see that the policies begin to work. Inflation is likely to reduce when we get the results on the 15th. Growth is actually expanding, but at a slow pace. Our reserves are up, and our oil production, you heard Dolapo Oni saying it, oil production is back up. So, quite frankly, things are positive, but slowly positive. I don't think anybody should run away that we are free at this point. No, we have a lot of work to do. This is a slow, painful, but hard-working recovery that we are going to deal with this year.
Well, most You know, most expectations will be that at this time, the Central Bank of Nigeria should not have a dovish stance. It should not continue a contractionary stance either, because the plan, it's looking to achieve at least a stable macroeconomic environment with low inflation, like you've already mentioned, and stable exchange rate, as well as sustainable fiscal and external balances, among others. So in terms of what should happen right now, what do you think should be on the table? The Monetary Policy Committee, of course, already have their cards on the table. They have their hands full, and they know what exactly the Nigerians are expecting. But in line with achieving what this plan has set out to achieve, what do you think should be the most realistic move from the committee?
No, that's a very interesting question. If you look at the plan, we are talking about 7% growth in 2020, but 2.5% growth this year. At this point in time, in the Q4, we had minus 1.3. To achieve 2.5% growth this year, we need to jumpstart this economy. And the only way to do that is to be bold enough, audacious enough to create an accommodative stance at this time. Very well, you know that inflation is a problem, but inflation can be dealt with if you allow output to grow. Output can grow if the foreign exchange market is liberalized. There's a convergence and unification of rates at the same time. The power supply is addressed, which is one of the key issues that the central bank will have to deal with in intervention in the power sector. And more than anything else, the constraints to growth, the institutional bottlenecks are going to have to be removed. The acting president has said within 60 days, the ease of doing business will be addressed. It's gone to the airport, it's done this. And so there is momentum of policy and implementation taking place at this time. I do not think that the Monetary Policy Committee would like to be a breaker. They would have to go along and go with the flow. That is my own intuitive sense. But they have information which I don't have. They have information which you do not have. All that you and I have is that we know that the people are suffering, and we know that the people are calling for changes that can be impactful on their lives. And we are very close to a political cycle. So the Monetary Policy Committee, the fiscal authorities, and everybody has to recognize our fears, that is you and I, our fears, and how to make sure that we can reduce the misery index of Nigeria. Nigerians are miserable right now.